there! My name is Jonathan, also known as Daiwan Brad Dai, and you found Binging the Force with Rocky Mountain Fan Force. This is a place where Star Wars friends get together, rewatch Star Wars shows, and for God's sakes, how much Darksaber's in this show! You can find us on Facebook at the Rocky Mountain Fan Force, and this show on a multitude of podcast platforms, such as YouTube at Binging the Force. You can also find our new merchandise store at bingingtheforce.myspreadshop.com. And where there's lots of cool things with our logo on it. So go on there, check it out. No Darksabers for sale there, though. Sorry. So I'm proud to be joined today by our crew, our excellent crew. We have Michael.
Hello.
Dale.
This is the way.
Jefferson.
Hello.
And James.
Hi, guys. Good to be back.
James has returned from his European vacation.
We're watching Rebels, Season 4, Episode 1, Part 1, Heroes of Mandalore. So to give everybody context, this is the premiere episode for the final season of Star Wars Rebels. So in these episodes, we see our regular group of aforementioned Rebels, Mandalorians, and the special guest star, the Darksaber, also known as Mando Excalibur. But before we get started, though, I have a question for our esteemed panel, which they have not been warned of. So I'm curious to see what sort of improv answers we come up with. So this is the first episode of a two-parter, of course. And the MacGuffin for this episode is Sabine's father. Sabine's trying to find dear old dad. And MacGuffin, of course, is a time-honored storytelling tool. So for you guys, what are some of your favorite MacGuffins in cinema history? So for anybody out there who may not know, a MacGuffin is an object or device in a story or movie, whatever type of story it might be, that's a trigger for the plot and something that people chase after, right? Learn character motivations, plot happens, all that good stuff. So I will open it to the floor. MacGuffins, favorites.
And thinking about Hitchcock, because it actually is a Hitchcock reference. Hitchcock is who would actually come up with that term.
Well, I'll jump in quick before anyone else says it and go with the Death Star plans. I mean, man, it seemed at the beginning of the film, it was such a big deal, these Death Star plans. But then as it went on, it didn't really have that big a part of the story. And then, 30 years later, we get 30 years later, we get Rogue One, and the whole damn movie was about the Death Star plans. So
it's such a good MacGuffin. They used it twice.
MacGuffin got a spinoff.
That's a good one.
No, it has to be the Ark of the Covenant. That's the only right answer.
Jefferson, I think you stole mine. Why do you like that one so much?
Well, Raiders of the Lost Ark is my number one all-time favorite movie. So,
okay.
And
we're gonna have a good summer.
It's the ultimate treasure hunter movie, So, the Ark of the Covenant. It's a great MacGuffin because it's insanely powerful, but nobody really knows what it actually does, and so it can be menacing yet vague. We don't know what the Nazis plan to do with it, but we know it's going to be awful, so we know our hero has to get it, but we don't get too wrapped up in the details of what it's actually for, which I think that's what MacGuffin shouldn't be detailed. MacGuffin should be vague.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of that because mine was also the Ark of the Covenant, but I'll continue that Indiana Jones theme, and I would say the Grail. Yes. Right? So It's been in Indiana Jones, the Holy Grail. It was in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I mean, there's been dozens of movies, at least, that I'm not thinking of, where the Grail is the MacGuffin. I mean, it's one of the first original ones in storytelling, right? The Cup of Christ. And so I think that's a classic one, and it has led many a story and ruined many a lives. So, yeah. James, Michael, how about you guys?
You stole mine.
Okay.
I was going to say Holy Grail. I was thinking of Indiana Jones as well.
I'm going to go real old school film geek, sci-fi geek, date myself. Our friend Dan, who hopefully will come back to the show once we stop doing animated shows, will get this reference. I don't know about anyone else. I'm going to go with the glaive from Krull.
Wow. That is a deep cut, Michael.
Very
that
deep.
Is.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to maybe when I edit the episode, put up a picture of if I'd known to think of this in advance, but I'm thinking when we put this up on YouTube later, in the post live version, I'm going to put a picture of the glaive. It's a weapon that is it's an adventure film. It's a fantasy adventure film, kind of sci-fi. It really combines all of them. It's really obscure from the 80s. It combines sci-fi, fantasy, action. But it's a quest. The lead character is on a quest to find this legendary weapon, the glaive, to be able to rescue the princess from the evil sorcerer. And he finds it, and it actually is as good as it's supposed to be. It pays off. It's a very cool. It's able to,
Well,
travel
it's
on
cool
its
for 1970s sci-fi, right?
1980s, yeah,
1980s, yeah.
1980s.
Well, and
I'm not that old. I am
the
that old.
the gimmick is that the evil sorcerer is from outer space too. That's
Right. The evil
fun part
sorcerer
of
is a demon from outer space, but it's I believe a 6-bladed kind of almost like a shuriken kind of thing. It's like gold encrusted with jewels, but then 6 blades come out of it in the periphery, and he actually flings it, and it kind of, once he flings it, it then travels on its own and can attack things on its own and almost has a mind of its own. It's a very cool ancient weapon kind of thing. And I'll put up a picture of it when I edit this after the fact.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a couple ideas. How about the Infinity Stones or the Gauntlet or
Yeah, that's
maybe
good.
the Jedi Scrolls within Star Wars, right?
A lot of MCU movies for the Infinity Stones. Yeah, good point.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys with your newfangled, lightsabers and dark sabers and things. I'm going old school.
Yeah, Michael, I don't know what you're talking about, but now I'm curious. I'll go look it up.
I haven't thought about that movie in years. I kind of want to watch it again, but I kind of don't because
it's kind of cheesy. Yeah,
I suspect it doesn't hold up very well. I think my memory of having seen it as a child is probably better than the actual film.
Yeah, if you're gonna watch that one, watch it with like the MST3K.
It's got a much younger Liam Neeson.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh wow.
And the star went on to play a recurring character on Deep Space Nine.
Yes, he did. Ken Russell, I believe.
Ken Marshall.
Marshall. Okay. You outgeeked me.
Well, awesome. Well, none of those hold a candle to Sabine's dad, of course. I'm surprised nobody said, "Don't forget Sabine's dad." No, I mean he's the person they're chasing after in this episode, But when they get there, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. See if our heroes successfully rescue Sabine's father, and see if they decide to throw him and he has a mind of its own. So maybe we can go ahead and dive into the episode and find out what happens.
Okay. Okay.
Desert.
Dale, can you give us some context here? I forget what's happening.
We do not have a ship. No ship flinging in. We're already on a planet. I'm just going to say that right at the beginning. No ship flowing in.
Right. So season 3 ended with the big battle, and now, as Jonathan mentioned, they're off to rescue Sabine's dad. They supposedly know his location by the capital in. This is the planet Mandalore. Apparently, it used to look better than this. And what we saw in Clone Wars, it did look better than this with cityscapes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But now it's kind of, a wasteland.
A wasteland, desert, yeah.
And then it kind of starts. And then how many years between this and Mandalorian when they eventually get back to Mandalore, right? I mean, it looks totally different. Maybe it's just a different part of the planet or something.
Right. I don't think it was the exact same. And even when we go to their capital city later on in the story, it's different location on the planet than in the Mandalorian,
which is very nice.
But the point is,
one planet is one biosphere too.
Yeah, but the point is, it's not a nice looking place. It's not rolling hills of green anymore.
It's not Sound of Music. Got it.
Right.
Yeah, it looks like it'd be terrible to be a stormtrooper stationed on this planet.
Yeah.
So Sabine's got the dark saber, rallying the troops.
Yep. I mean, we see it being used as the rallying point for people to follow her. We've always heard about that happening. Now we actually see that happening.
I love Ezra's helmet. He's trying real hard to fit in with the rest of the guys, isn't he?
Yeah. And I think Chopper in his Chopper speak says something like "Here we go again," kind of thing. But you'll notice he stays towards the back of the action. He doesn't get up on the front lines here.
He's no dummy.
He's a smart one. Yeah.
So Ezra has a new jetpack in this episode, and he's not really familiar with it. So it's kind of like the Rocketeer, where he's got this new piece of equipment, which is potentially dangerous. Doesn't really know how to operate it all that well.
Yeah. So we saw Kane in there. He's blind, correct? He got blinded in the previous part of the series, if I remember right. I don't know if we've seen any blind Jedi, have we? Ever? I mean, it's pretty impressive what he can do with the Force, right? It's like his senses or other senses are like magnified or something.
Like in the comics, wasn't there a Jedi who was blinded? She was female. She could see visions or something. Is that ringing a bell with anybody?
I don't know.
No,
I couldn't tell you the name, but it's quite remarkable his Force power. Later, he has a conversation with the hologram of Hera. So their relationship hasn't changed even when he can't see her hologram. He's still really adept at talking to her. So this is a new Saxon. This is Tiber Saxon, and he is voiced by Tobias Menzies, who played Admiral Tully on Game of Thrones. So,
okay.
Not my favorite
Game of Thrones reference here.
Yeah, not my favorite Tully. He was also on Rome.
He was. He was Brutus.
Okay. Along with Ray Stevenson, who I had in my notes to talk about last week, the voice of Gar Saxon, who just passed away.
Yeah, he died yesterday.
But we're going to see him coming up in the Ahsoka series. He's in the teaser trailer. He's the guy with the orange-red lightsaber. So
cool.
When I first saw this, I thought Sabine just got like completely shot by that walker.
Or by that ATSC or whatever.
Yeah, it did hit her little shield. Thankfully.
Yeah, she kind of blocked it,
but it packs a punch, I guess. Knocked her out of the sky anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense here, plot-wise, right? You can't always have your heroes immediately win, so there's got to be that moment of peril, and
everybody's got to be in danger, right?
Yeah, and they have to be fallible. If we know for sure that they're always going to win, then the story's not that interesting.
Exactly.
We at least have to be able to suspend disbelief and think they might not succeed.
Dale, did you just crack open a cold one?
Every episode. This is the latest. I usually do it during the opening. But yes. I take that back. One episode I had a bottle. Otherwise, I've had a new craft beer every episode.
Well, I can understand that. Rebels needs, a little alcohol
21.
sometimes in order to make it more interesting. I get it.
I think we need to start a new segment of the show there. What is Dale drinking?
I think we just need to take shots every time we see the Darksaber. We won't make it through the episode.
No, we really wouldn't.
We could truly binge with the Force. I mean,
Binge drinking with the Force.
We could get totally loaded and might make it really interesting.
Tonight, Dale is enjoying a peanut butter and jelly squeeze sour ale.
Whoa, that's an interesting combo.
So
sounds like it should be for kids, but it's not for kids.
Right. Yeah. 21 means 21, folks.
So they look through, they take out the stormtroopers, but there's no Sabine's dad here. Sad day.
We couldn't tell watching this because we're not looking at the sound, but I looked at the IMDb, and the stormtroopers' voices were Steve Blum, the guy who does Zeb. Since Zeb's not so they had to give him something to do, and so they let him be the stormtroopers.
Yeah, there's no Zeb, no hair in this episode, right?
But we do get Bo Katan. This episode is her only appearance in Rebels, but she's here just in time to save the day and continue the Darksaber story. Her character model is supposed to be the Clone Wars model and then aged 18 years. I think it looks fine, but I'm not convinced that it looks 18 years older. Like I feel like it's backwards.
No, I have an answer for that. Mandalorian skin cream is renowned throughout the galaxy. Their skincare regimen is unsurpassed.
Well, I mean, they're
Or
not
she-
exposed to the sun. They got their helmets on all the time, right?
Yeah, exactly. See, so
Jetpack don't crack.
mhm.
I mean, that was always an issue with the Mandalorian for me. I mean, because I know a lot of people were kind of shipping her and Din Djarin. I mean, because the actress still looks really great because she's only like in her 40s, but the character is supposed to at that point be probably in her 60s.
Right.
Well, but we don't necessarily know the life expectancy of different types of humans in the Star Wars universe, do we? So
There is
this
that.
could be normal for her. I mean,
Because
maybe
Katie Sackhoff
Mandalorians live a
obviously
long time.
still, Katie Sackhoff in her 40s still looks amazing, you know.
Mhm.
That's a good question, Jefferson. How long do humanoids live? Right? Because
As
we know
long as they
Wookiees and
continue to
stuff
make the
can
story
be
good.
500 years old or something.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, no, I think in
Now
this
they see-
case, just having the character in the story is interesting enough that having her not be in the story because she would be too old, that would be a dumb reason to not have her in the story.
Sure.
Yeah, I
And
think
same
humans
with
live
Mandalorian.
to be 900 years old, right? Just like Yoda. Let's go with that.
Yeah,
Why not? Prove me wrong.
Harrison Ford in episode 7. Proved you wrong.
But here's Sabine's mom. She seems to have sort of patched things up with her mom.
Yep.
Little
They're
less
working
drama.
together.
Oh, she just came in to deliver some exposition. Got it. All right.
Yeah. So somehow she's getting fed a news feed that those guys there don't have. There's execution for her husband scheduled.
So Kanan's blind and he's talking to Hera here. What does he need the hologram for?
Chopper's just tooling with him. It's not
Chopper's
actually
just
it
being
got
a
turned on.
smart butt.
Just-
Well, if you're going to go through every logical fallacy in Star Wars.
no, we're not. Only this one. This is the only one.
Only this one.
Right.
Yeah, what does a blind man need with a hologram? Yeah.
Mhm.
Now if Kanan says, "Hey, what happened to your finger?" then we know he's faking the blindness.
And it could be something as simple as the communication system just doesn't. There's no option to.
There's no
mute the
option.
camera.
For audio, just audio.
Can't turn the camera. on.
It's for her to see him, not for him to see her.
Yeah. Okay.
That
But
makes
at least he's not like standing in the hologram. Then that'd be awkward.
Or looking in the wrong direction.
Yeah, because you can't sense a hologram with a force, can you?
Right.
Maybe the hologram needs to be visible for her to see him.
Maybe. Okay, we can go with that.
Why not?
Yeah, but I love the dialogue. It's like Han and Leia in the hallway on Hoth when he's like, because of the way you feel about me. When neither one is really saying
Yeah.
what they're feeling.
I know.
I like the lack of background in this episode. Just that kind of pale yellow. It makes all the colors of the characters really pop.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see this episode at Star Wars Celebration 2017. So it was only 2 weeks after season 3 had aired on TV, and it was still 6 months before this episode aired on TV. Like somehow I got into a screening of it there. So it was pretty exciting. And when they showed that the MTT, the multi-troop transport on the screen, like that got a big rise out of the audience. Because like, oh, it's the toy, but it's in the cartoon now.
Had it not been on the show before?
I can't remember if it was in an earlier season or not, but
Yeah. I mean,
it's
yeah,
definitely a memorable vehicle.
So you
Oh,
were
it's great.
a human spoiler, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There's
but
some cool looking troopers there. Like the look of their armor is very kind of Ralph McQuarrie concept art for
Yeah.
Well, and the
stormtroopers.
early prototype of Boba Fett's armor was white. There's footage you can find online of there was some parade or some personal appearance event where they've got somebody in the costume, but it's all white. There's no color to it. It's kind of interesting. to see.
Looks kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's that mix of stormtrooper and Mandalorian armor.
Which makes sense to drop in this episode.
that all-white Mando, we see Captain Hark. So he is voiced by the guy that was that played Saw Gerrera on Clone Wars. Before Forrest Whitaker was in that role, there was another actor, and now that guy is in this episode.
It's the beauty of animation. You can play as many characters as you can come up with voices for.
Yeah,
Right.
just look at James Arnold Taylor. So there's the toy.
I had that toy when I was a
It's
kid. I
falling
loved
out
that
just
thing.
like in the toy.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's more exciting than a 3PO carrying case to throw all your figures in, right?
Mhm.
Plus, it'd be weird if they were driving a very large 3PO head.
It really kind of would.
Yeah.
So the toy, if I remember correctly, it was electronic and it had little buttons at the top that you could press to make different Star Wars noises. It would have been a challenge, I guess, to work that into the story somehow. But
Right.
That would have been cool if they did, though. See, now that's Kanan being a badass.
this is a great action sequence here. This is terrific. I find that when I get into these, I forget that they're animated after a while. The fact that it's animation and not live action, I kind of forget, and it kind of just doesn't matter to me. But
the scene is written well, right? It's a good action sequence, so it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it combines Last Crusade and
Yes.
and Raiders, the changes in those films.
The old under the
They
Ezra's
just need to
hanging
get it up against the wall there, so
Yes.
right.
someone
Yeah,
can get taken out.
dragging it along and
The
trying to
tank.
knock Ezra off.
Yeah. Yeah, you could just put a little Raiders of the Lost Ark music in here.
Be perfect.
So are these things like tough to defeat? Why haven't they taken out the other two so far? Right? What's holding them back? Is it because they're kind of tank-like and they're tough?
Yeah, they're armored.
It looks kind of armored like a tank, yeah.
These guys all just have little pistols. They didn't bring a rocket launcher.
Oh, there's Chopper. Whoa, Chopper! Getting in the action, throws the gun away. Then
So uncivilized, Chopper.
unlike him. Wow.
I think the reason it's difficult is because of the pace here. I mean, they're booking it.
Yep. Yeah, they're moving.
Like that speeder bike, she's just keeping up with them.
I
So.
don't think Chopper was that fast or ornery.
Yeah, and all that bouncing around they're doing, they're lucky to be able to hit anything with those little guns that they have.
So yeah, a lot easier said than done here. So yeah, good point.
This is pretty awesome.
Love that.
Yeah, he's a very powerful Jedi. He just dispatches them. Doesn't kill them, but just.
Which is interesting because he was just a Padawan at the start of this.
Mhm.
So he hasn't had his full training even, but he's still, he seems like he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's one of the ones that survived and again didn't complete his training, right? Then he kind of takes Ezra under his.
He's
Yeah.
been through the Jedi School of Hard Knocks.
Right.
He was a kid during Order 66, and yeah.
On the job
Yeah.
training.
Some good humor here.
Just Chopper.
Complicated.
Loving Chopper. I love that plucky little guy.
All right,
Oh,
now here's
here's
the last
the,
Crusade
uh,
moment.
Here's the Last Crusade part, right? They're coming up on the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
There we go. Yeah. Now, who is this guy they're rescuing? Is this Sabine's father?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mr. McGuffin. Mhm.
Mr. McGuffin.
Mr. Mick. Ezra's really committed to looking like Commando, though. He does not take that helmet off.
No.
Well,
he's-
it looks almost. Did he get it from a scout trooper?
yeah, it's a scout
Looks
trooper.
like he
Probably had
painted it
Sabine paint it
himself.
for him. That's a great little sequence there. I mean, it's ludicrous, but it looks great.
Yeah. Oh, just in time. Thank goodness.
Yes, some real Legolas skills there, with
Mhm.
just jumping in slow motion.
You should be
All
like, I love you. I mean, thank you.
So this domed city here, Sundari, is the capital. I guess the idea is it's supposed to look like the ball from a mouse, like a trackball, which was the idea of Lucas's for Clone Wars, to have Mandalorian city is looking like that. So
Oh my gosh. Okay.
even though by the time Rebels came along, I'm sure he was well out of the picture. But
Yeah, I don't think he had any input on, because the Rebels was entirely done under Disney, right?
right,
Mhm.
Plus, it looks kind of like those big spaceships from the end of Attack of the Clones, right? The Geonosian ball ships.
Mm-hmm.
Looks kind of like that too. Popular design, I guess. Looks like all our heroes escaped unscathed.
As usual.
Not a scratch. Yeah.
right.
Aw. Gets a hug from Dad. That's so sweet.
So this feels like it could have been a good wrap up to the episode, right? Like, yay!
Yay, the end. They all lived happily ever after.
They saved Mr. McMuffin or McGuffin. So.
It's actually Egg McMuffin. Yeah. Yeah, they all lived happily ever after, right? So, yeah.
Not yet.
We have to talk about art first and
fucking art,
read each other a little bit.
Right, which is a sign we've seen Sabine's artistic side, but she's never had that kind of spit-tat conversation with anyone because no one else gets it, or
Right.
what her inspiration is.
Well,
So
now
are
that
they
her
waiting
armor-
for
her
a
armor
ride?
reflects
Like,
that.
what's going on here? They're just killing some time.
Artistic warrior. Kind of contradictory, but
Because they don't have any wheels now. Not enough jetpacks, too, I guess, right?
Right. They
how
forgot they're
much,
in a war zone.
yeah. How much fuel does those jetpacks take, by the way? They never refuel, it doesn't seem like. They have really long range for such small little,
Yeah, they have
Fuel
as much or as
capacity
little
there.
range as the plot needs.
Yeah, it's true.
There it is.
It's like in The Mandalorian, there's not much range when they're going after that dude's son, the heavy armor guy's son. But here, as much as they need to fight those Imperial toys.
Sure, it's like a 6-shooter in a Western movie. It holds as many bullets as the scene needs it to hold. Very rarely is it only 6.
So is her dad a Mandalorian, right? Shouldn't he should have some armor somewhere then, right?
Well, I mean, does every single person on the planet have a suit of armor? Do they not have civilians? I mean, they just talked about how her dad's an artist, not a.
I mean, back in Clone Wars, we saw the majority of the planet back in Clone Wars didn't have armor.
Mhm.
Right.
Is that his political leanings, maybe? More pacifist.
A little more of a pacifist, yeah.
Yeah, if he was aligned with House Kreese or something.
Mhm.
So what we missed there in the audio, and only Sabine picked up on the audio, but it's the Star Wars version of the snap here, from Marvel. Just people are
That's
gone
terrible.
and people are ash, basically.
Look, they did
create
kind of-
right because that was her backstory, was that Sabine created the weapon that's being used here.
Yes, yeah.
They did, looking at her just now, they did kind of make an effort to make Bo Katan look a little older. They gave her a crease on her forehead.
Oh, that's what it is.
Is that a wrinkle?
A wrinkle.
This is pretty gruesome for a Disney show.
It's kind of, yeah. It's
I mean, you're not showing blood, but still, it's the ashes of people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and this would have gone out on Disney's cable channel that they used to have, right?
Yeah, XD Disney. It was a Disney.
yeah.
Yeah. But still, I don't know. I mean, your intended audience is kids here, right? And you end with her kneeling over this pile of ash of her clan, her friends, her
I
people.
wonder if it is, though. I think at this point, season 4 of Rebels, I think the intended audience is Star Wars fans. I think they know that the majority of their viewers are probably people our age.
Mhm. Was Infinity War, which came out I think a year or so later, was that a PG-13 rating? I mean, because
It would
Yeah.
have,
something like that.
I think they were all PG-13. Yeah, they never made them more until they did like Logan and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Fox. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
But
we don't know exactly what happened here, right? We just see there was some weapon destroyed a lot of these Mandalorians, and that's their cliffhanger. They're not literally hanging on a cliff, but they're next to a cliff. But it's like, whoa, we are not infallible heroes. Like, the bad guys have some sort of weapon that can take us all out, and they're all just, as much as they do show emotion, Sabine's devastated.
Yeah.
At least, so.
Having mostly skipped around Clone Wars and Rebels, and really very much skipped through Rebels, and how much of Sabine's backstory as a scientist who had devised that weapon, how much of that did we know kind of coming into season 4?
Not a lot, I don't remember.
There was that when she was learning to use the Darksaber, and she had that scene with Kanan about why she left the Empire and why her family disowned her. That was really all the explanation we got. It wasn't until this episode really that we get a little more detail.
Okay, there was no episodes where it explored like her backstory or a flashback or anything like that showed her as a scientist or anything.
Not that I can remember.
Okay.
No.
I just didn't know if it was just something I didn't see in the early seasons.
Yeah, we just knew, she was at the academy, and she was, weapons expert and all of these munitions expert, different things, skills she had acquired during her short time there.
Gotcha. And she managed to create this unbelievable weapon that can kill whole planets.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what a Death Star super laser can do, but
right.
Detailed.
So basically she was a prodigy.
Yeah.
Well, good job watching this episode. It's part 1 of 2, so we hope that everybody will join us for part 2. We'll see what happens with Sabine's dad is here to now save the day, of course, I assume, and that our heroes have taken 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So let's find out what happens next time with Heroes of Mandalore. So if you're interested in learning more about the Rocky Mountain Fan Force, you can check us out on our Facebook page. We'll be having a meeting in June 2023 here, so sorry to date us a little bit, but you can learn more about the group there and find out more about our fun little get-togethers. So any last comments you guys want to make before we dive into part 2 of Heroes of Mandalore in our next episode?
Well, the MacGuffin survived,
yeah.
but what a way to go out for those other guys. I mean, it was off screen, but to come back into them and they're gone, that's a killer right there.
I'm excited to have Bo Katan there. I mean, I'm excited too that we've kind of merged our kind of storylines, especially with this binge that we've been doing, coming from Clone Wars and the beginnings there of seeing House Kryze and seeing the Death Watch and her kind of through Clone Wars, and now bringing her back in Rebels and the whole thing of seeing the Darksaber there and really converging our storylines here. So I'm excited by that.
Yeah, it's interesting watching it, knowing that she's going to be back again in the Mandalorian. So it's interesting to note that, wow, she's going to be in just all over this storyline.
Yeah, we didn't know that at the time, right? We just knew, oh, she's a character who's back from Clone Wars, but they liked her enough as a character and as a plot device for moving Mandalorian story along to keep her along for the ride.
Great.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Game of Star Wars Thrones. We'll see you next time, and may the Force be with you.